During World War II, many technological innovations were unleashed in the military. The constant arms race forced the warring parties to quickly find countermeasures. The most interesting developments were in the Air Force and Navy, created under wartime conditions, and therefore their appearance was often unconventional, sometimes even strange. For example, this unusual aircraft, whose nose was a huge, powerful searchlight, made it look like a giant flying lantern. What kind of system was this? What was its purpose, and was it effective? We'll try to answer these and many other related questions in this video. The aircraft in this photo is a Douglas Hawk light bomber from the British Air Force, and the large searchlight built into the nose is a World War II era system called Turbinlite. This device became necessary after the warring parties began conducting large-scale bombing raids on rear areas, such as factories and warehouses, to weaken the army and navy. The greatest effectiveness of such bombing was achieved at night, as the bombers were invisible in the air, and anti-aircraft guns and conventional single-engine fighters could not find their targets and engage them. Searchlights shining from the ground came to the rescue, but they were easily visible from the air and became easy prey. The development of radar made it possible to search for enemy bombers at night and in poor weather. However, this device was unusually cumbersome and unrealistic to install in a light single-engine fighter. However, radar could be installed on light bombers, as such aircraft generally had good flight speed. The British decided to include a radar-equipped escort aircraft in their conventional fighter formations, which could guide single-engine fighters to enemy bombers at night. However, in this case, even a radar-equipped aircraft had difficulty designating targets. The aircraft itself could see the bombers on its radar screen, but providing accurate targeting by radio was difficult. Here, Australian inventor Sidney Cotton came to the rescue. He proposed installing a searchlight on a radar-equipped aircraft. This would allow the aircraft to eliminate targets seen on the radar screen, allowing single-engine fighters to strike. In September 1940, the inventor proposed his idea to Royal Air Force officers, and they decided to test it. The Douglas Hawk light bomber was chosen as the basis. Its maximum speed was 317 miles per hour, approximately 510 kilometers per hour, a speed easily sufficient for formation flying with Hawker Hurricane fighters. The Douglas Hawk was also suitable for mounting the Mark IV radar, which was capable of detecting other aircraft in the air. The radar and operator station were mounted in the tail of the aircraft. No weapons were installed to avoid adding weight. The nose of the fuselage was redesigned, and a powerful General Electric Company searchlight was installed inside the fuselage. Its output was 2,700 million candelas, and it was powered by batteries installed in the bomb bay, another reason not to install armament. The searchlight was covered with a flat transparent disc, and two radar antennas were mounted on the edges of the nose. This modification of the aircraft was named the Hawk 1 Turbinlite. The operating principle was as follows. During a nighttime air raid by enemy bombers, a flight of fighters would launch, along with several searchlight aircraft. Once airborne, the Hawk 1 Turbinlite would use radar to detect targets and transmit their location by radio. It would then point its nose at the bomber concentration and activate its searchlight, prompting the fighters to launch their attack. The attack had to be swift, as the searchlight was so powerful that it quickly drained the batteries, giving the fighters only a few minutes to complete the entire operation. The idea seemed intriguing, but in practice its effectiveness was limited, and sometimes even turning on the searchlight was dangerous. The problem was that the light from the searchlight often blinded not only the fighter pilots, but also their own crews. When turned on, the searchlight immediately alerted the enemy to an attack, giving them time to maneuver. The first time a group of fighters escorted by a Hawk 1 Turbinlite shot down an enemy bomber was on April 13, 1942, near Flamborough Head. During the patrol, a Heinkel 111 was spotted. During the pursuit, the Hawk 1 Turbinlite used radar to guide the Hurricane fighter, who shot down the German bomber. Curiously, the pilots had agreed not to turn on the searchlight, so as to ensure a surprise attack. In total, only 39 Douglas Hawk light bombers were converted to carry the Turbinlite searchlight. They were used during air raids on England, but the searchlights were of little use. The situation was significantly improved by the advent of more effective centimeter radar. making it possible to develop a fully armed night fighter interceptor based on a light bomber. This finally put an end to the Turbinlite searchlight, and the project was cancelled in 1943. However, it's worth noting that the British Air Force did have a similar but more effective system called the Ley light. This was also a searchlight, but it was intended to detect German submarines. There is a separate video about this device. The link is on the screen or below this video. See you soon!